Cerrone, how come the Celtics haven't been better this year?
Oh, it's the easy answer. It's their coach. The coach, I've been on this from the beginning. I don't think he's a good basketball coach. It's that simple. I think they're making it harder than it has to be. He's running, I don't know if you want to call it complicated things, whatever, trying to get to 2-versus-1. They don't have the roster to run that stuff. They're still living behind the three-point line. Jaylen Brown's been a good player for them. He's kind of, I would say, abandoned the three. He's taking less of them. He's getting in the mid-range. He's getting to the foul line, but then he's the only one doing it. I don't know why anybody else is looking at him and saying, hey, why don't we all do the same thing? And you look at the standings. You see a change in the NBA. The Detroit Pistons, the Toronto Raptors, Houston Rockets, they're the bottom three of shooting threes in the NBA. They take the fewest. Look where they're at in the standings. Detroit Pistons have won 13 games in a row, and they don't shoot threes. The Toronto Raptors have won like 8 in a row. They don't shoot threes. You don't have a roster, and yet you're shooting threes when everybody else is changing, and you're going – there was a point the other day, Hauser was playing center. Sam Hauser was playing center. And you're like, man, I don't know why these Orlando guys are just killing us. I can tell you why you had Sam Hauser playing center. But the simple answer is this. Their head coach I don't think he's a good head coach. And I think he is absolutely holding his team back and will keep them from being a good team for years to come.
What should they be? Without Jason Tatum in their current roster, they're 9-8. Should they be help me with the math, 12-5? You know, should they what should they be?
You shouldn't lose to Utah. Utah's openly trying to get AJ. They openly trying to lose. You should not lose to the Brooklyn Nets. They have about 3 or 4 games they should not have lost. And the difference between where they're at now is like a 10 seed and being in third place is 3 games. That's the difference. If you can hang in that top 4 or 5 until you get Tatum back, you're rolling, but you can't lose to Utah and Brooklyn. It can't happen. And his reluctance to change is what's going to cost this team.
So, and he's not exactly I thought, Cerrone, that if Mazzulla could do anything, and because I agree with you, and I've been, just barking it for 2 or 3 years about his approach, and I think he's limited in game, and I think, again, the whole franchise has turned themselves over to the analysts, and I think those guys have it wrong, and it cost you a chance at a championship. I've said it over and over and over and over again. But I thought, Cerrone, that if Mazzulla had any sort of strength, it was, and it is a strength. I don't mean to belittle it. It's true. I think guys like him. I think his players like him. I think his players play for him. I think they have a good culture there. I think for the most part, they're hardworking, dedicated guys. Hard to do in pro sports, hard to do in the NBA. And I think Mazzulla's a part of that. And I thought, if anything, that you'd get into this year without Tatum and they losing those pieces off the roster, that they'd be the team that's diving on the floor and winning on the margins and out-hustling teams and would show up more nights than the other team and would just get to 45 wins by doing that. And the fact that they haven't done that enough is what's really surprised me. And to have Jaylen Brown call out the team the way that he did on Friday after that home Brooklyn loss. Kevin, we'll play it here. Here's Jaylen Brown when he's asked about where would he start or, how would he assess what happened there in that hideous home loss on Friday to Brooklyn. Here's what he said.
What's my initial takeaway? Come ready to play or don't come at all. That's my whole thing. We got to come ready to play. We just went through the motions today. Like, I don't understand it. We need to play with an edge defensively and offensively. Like, we got to be the harder playing team. That can't be negotiable. And tonight we weren't. Brooklyn was a harder playing team. They played with more of an edge, and they deserved to win tonight.
So I didn't think we'd be hearing that from this team.
Well, what I can say about that game, Brooklyn didn't play hard. But how many times are you going to let Michael Porter Jr. run pick and roll at the top of the top of the key, and nobody defended him, Jaylen Brown included? Porter Jr. had like 18 in the fourth quarter. That should not happen. There was no adjustment by the coaches. The players didn't adjust to it. It wasn't about playing hard. Brooklyn was over there kind of clowning around, but they were just making shots, and you weren't doing anything to slow them down. There was no adjustments. And the same thing happened in the Orlando game. They ended up winning. But I want to say it was Juwan Howard's son. I can't think of his name. He had like a career high, but in the fourth quarter, again, they didn't make any adjustments. They didn't do anything to stop him from scoring. It wasn't playing hard. It was just simple basketball. Mazzulla plays this basketball. It's like everybody's the same position. There's no defined point guard. They can't pass the ball. There's no defined centers that are rebounding. You put a guy in the dunker spot the other day. Minot has a career night just getting dunks and layups. And it's like, yes, but because he did that, and we're going to ask about the threes, guess what's going to happen next game? He's not going to put anybody in the dunker spot because he's going to live by his philosophy, and it's going to get this team hurt as opposed to playing simple, basic basketball. Let Peyton Pritchard be a point guard, not a scorer. Simons is your second best offensive player on this team. He should not be buried on the bench with Sam Hauser. Play basic basketball. You're going to win enough games until your superstar comes back and carries this team.
I think that call out the other night was, I mean, it might have been pointed at Derek White because he's been disappointing with his shooting this year, but it's maybe him, Hauser. They've shot poorly. At least White does other things.
Mm-hmm.
But so to your point that you think the biggest problem is the coach.
Yeah.
So Derek White as a whole. Did we collectively overrate him, Cerrone? Because he's my favorite player on the team and has been, but or is it Joe partially responsible for trying to turn him into a sharpshooter that he's not?
He has him running the same offense as if Jason Tatum is out there. Jason Tatum is the reason Derek White gets that extra space. Jason Tatum's the reason Sam Hauser gets that extra space and his percentages are high. Jason Tatum's the reason you can do the 2-versus-1 because he draws so much attention. Now you have 2-on-1s all over the place. You can't run the same stuff as if Jason Tatum is out there. He is a top 5 player, and I think he's leading the NBA right now in MVP votes because you clearly see what he's like when he's not there. But you can't do the same things as if Tatum is still out. Jaylen Brown's good, but they don't play him or respect him the same way they do Jason Tatum. And Jason Tatum, you run high pick and roll with him, he comes off the screen, he's beating the first guy, then he's your best passer. So now he's finding Derek White wide open. He's finding these other guys. Oh, he's finishing, and he's also your best defensive rebounder. So now it changes everything you do, but you can't run that offense and play as if you still have Drew Holiday, Porzingis, Jason Tatum, and Al Horford out there, and they clearly don't.
And I agree. I start with the play style. This is a question. Is Jaylen Brown part of the problem, or is he doing everything that he should be doing that you would expect him to do, and everything else around him is letting him down?
He's doing too much. He's doing too much. Jaylen Brown, for this team to win, he doesn't need to score 28 a game or get 35 against Orlando. For them to be a good basketball team, Jaylen Brown needs to be around 20, but 27-7. He needs to rebound. He's got the wide shoulders, the athletic ability. He needs to be down there on that block. He needs to rebound, and he needs to be better at passing the basketball. If Jaylen Brown is closer to a triple-double as opposed to getting 30 a night, this team will be much better off. He needs to be a playmaker and make the guys around him better as opposed to just being a better scorer for this team.
And quickly, to your point, so he had 9 games where he scored 30 or more points last season, Jaylen Brown. He already has 8 games like that this year. They played 17 games. That's not necessarily a good thing.
Yeah,
okay.
It's good on his resume. It looks good for him, but it doesn't help the team win.
Times where things was looking rough here in Boston. I've been in, I don't know how many times they put me in trade talks for whatever reason. It was always something. You know what I mean? It was other players that, Brad or whoever thought the organization was better fit or they were paying more money, whatever. So I was like, I think it may be time to go. You know what I mean? I think I can go somewhere else. I think I'm talented. I think I can score the ball at a very, very high level. And I'm not allowed to grow the same like other players because I'm on a different type of whatever. T-Mac was like, stay, bro. And I was like, huh? I'm thinking like T-Mac and Vince, they was like, T-Mac chose to leave in order to go beat T-Mac, who he eventually was. So I'm thinking that's what he was going to say. He was like, nah, bro, trust me. Whatever you can do, if you can stay, you got an opportunity to win. And I was like, damn, I forever took that with me. Even behind closed doors, things have always, from things that have been up and down, I've always held on to that message. I want to win first. Because that was the advice that I got.
There's Jaylen Brown on a recent stream. So I don't know exactly. His stream, someone's stream, I don't know. Online. Answer your question about one of his idols, Tracy McGrady, and the advice he got to stay in Boston. But the story there is that there was a point there where he was looking to leave and questioning whether he should be leaving. It was other players that Brad or whoever thought the organization was better fit or they were paying more money to, whatever. So I was like, I think it may be time to go. Your thoughts on that, Cerrone?
Well, listen, Tracy McGrady and Vince Carter both played for multiple teams, great players. Real quick, what's your top 5 Tracy McGrady playoff moment?
Exactly.
What about Vince Carter? You got one of those?
No.
A dunk or two, right?
That's
I
it.
don't remember.
Because they left and tried to go where they thought the grass was greener, and all they got was L's. And they told him, dude, You're going to go, you're going to make more money, you're going to be known as this, whatever, but you're going to keep losing. You're in a situation where you've been in several conference finals and all these other things and whatever. You want to go be the man somewhere else, but it's never going to be easy. And I'm glad they got to him. And I think they didn't say it, but he's not as good as he thinks he is. He's not Tracy McGrady. Jason Tatum is probably close to Tracy McGrady. He's not Tracy McGrady or Vince Carter. And, yeah, he could have gone somewhere and made more money. And I would say made more money. He's the highest paid player in the league for a little bit. He could have been the man somewhere, but he'd be frustrated. He's the man now. He's already calling his teammates out. He's been a man for 3 weeks. I mean, it's gonna come trouble with that. And I think they gave him the right advice. And I understand being the number 2, you want to go be the man and get all the praise, but you'll get more praise winning championships and being competitive than being the man in Portland or Utah or San Antonio at this point in time. Wemby's the man in San Antonio. They haven't won more than 28, 30 games since he's been there. Stay, win, and I think he understood that, and hopefully he gets that now.
Yeah, and I also don't blame him for feeling frustrated because it felt like there was that stretch before them winning that title where anytime the Celtics lost in the playoffs, he had a bad playoff series, or they didn't make the finals, or they lose in the finals. The first name to come up in any kind of trade permutation was Jaylen Brown's, whether it was for Kevin Durant or whoever it had to be. That always happened. I'm sure he got pissed or had one foot out the door there for a minute.
I'd still trade him for Durant today. But
you would?
Even now?
Yes. KD at this point in his career is still a 50, 40, 90 shooter that can get 30 a night. He can get 50 on anybody right now, today. Yes. You talk about you don't want to see Mahomes. I don't want to see Houston in the finals at all. That team is Kevin Durant is one of the top 5 individual scorers this game has ever seen, and is still that guy. He's been 50, 40, almost 90 for the last 5 years. He's a bucket. If Jaylen Brown turns into that at any point in his career, my God, he is not that. He's never going to reach that, even at this age of Kevin Durant. Give me KD for the next 2 years over what this current Jaylen Brown is. Absolutely.
The story to me is that it's just, Jaylen Brown, it feels like a handful of times a year, half a dozen times a year, tells you in no uncertain, basically shouts it in your face. I have to make sacrifices here. I'm not always happy here. I question my role here. I have to do things that other star players aren't asked to do. There's ups and downs behind closed doors. Again, I mean, he just, and it's just amazing when you talk about, and maybe not right at this current moment, because I think Celtics fans have just, tuned out a little bit. But you can't tell a Celtics fan that, Brown and Tatum, you got to wonder about how long that's going to, you're making it up. Oh, you don't know. You don't know, Felger. Oh, that's just your shtick, isn't it? How many times, how many interviews does Jaylen Brown have to tell you in his own words? How, the sacrifices he makes, and is this the right place, and his place in the city? Never mind his thoughts about Boston and the politics, and he's screaming it in your face, folks. Good God, you children, the baby Celtics fans.
We've seen this.
I just can't help. How many different ways does he have to tell you and say it to you in point blank to your face? Good God, grow up.
It's a similar situation. I know they weren't that good, and Tatum's not that level, but this was Scottie Pippen before Jordan left. It was complaining a contract, and I'm better than this. No one views me as this guy. It's like, dude, you're all NBA. What are you talking about? You're an all-star. You got your own shoes and commercials. No one sees. I can't wait to get my own opportunity. Jordan leaves. Scottie Pippen gets his chance. He's mad at the coach for not putting him in, not giving him the ball. He sits out in a playoff situation. And next thing you know, he's on TV pointing at Jordan to come back, and he's pointing at his shoes. Jaylen Brown is getting what he wanted right now. You're the man. You are the man of the 25-26 Celtics. This is your team right now. He's showing frustration, whatever. If this continues, by the time we get to February, he's going to be looking at TV like Scottie Pippen, pointing at Jason Tatum and telling him we need you to come back, because he realizes life is easier when you're playing alongside an elite all-NBA player.
And I'm not necessarily blaming him. I mean, I think he's living up.
Human nature.
I think he's living up to his end of the bargain. Mm-hmm. And I think there's a lot of things here that aren't a fit. How he views himself, and he might overrate himself a little bit, but how he views himself and the sacrifices he makes Never mind his fit in the city politically or culturally or however, he's talked about these things in his own words. And he is just not long for this team. No superstar is long for any team in the NBA. Okay? So, they're all flight risks in that league. So that it's not unusual to say that he's not long for the team, but he's really not long for the team. And you do wonder about how long he can, how any superstar on any team can last, but especially one that keeps kvetching about his role and his sacrifices. And it's like, how many times does he have to say it to you before you get it through your skull?